The backyard was full of people laughing, chatting, and smelling the yummy burgers on the grill. Kids ran around between picnic tables, squealing and giggling, their voices mixing with the sound of burgers sizzling on the grill. Plates clattered, drinks were poured, and the sunshine made everything look bright and cheerful. In the middle of all this happiness, my sister stood like a storm cloud. Her face was red with anger and she pointed her finger right at me. "Foes faking her injury to get money from Mom and Dad," she shouted. "I'm the one taking care of them while she pretends to be hurt." Before I continue, don't forget to subscribe and join the awesome community. Drop a comment below to tell me where you're watching from and what you think of the story. Her words hit me like a heavy punch. People around us turned their heads to stare. Some whispered to each other and others nodded as if they were already convinced. My aunt had her phone out, recording everything with a big smirk on her face. My cousin Aria, who always followed my sister, clapped and laughed like it was a funny show. Another cousin, Kale, shouted, "I saw her at the clinic. She was walking without crutches." My stomach twisted in fear and shock. That was from my physical therapy at the clinic after my car accident 2 years ago. I had been trying to get stronger and for a few seconds I could balance, but I still could not walk alone. I tried to explain, my voice shaking. "I can't walk without help. The accident hurt my spine. I need crutches." But no one listened. My aunt's voice cut me off, sharp and mean. "Don't lie to us, Ellery," she said. Everyone's eyes were on me, staring as if I was some strange creature. I felt small and invisible all at once. Some people nodded like they believed my sister. Others whispered to each other, judging me quietly. Mom was standing near the drinks, her head bent down, looking at the ground. She didn't say a word. Dad was flipping burgers on the grill, pretending nothing was happening, as if keeping busy would make all the chaos go away. Their silence hurt me more than the yelling. The only person who seemed to care was my best friend. She was standing right beside me, holding my hand tightly. Her grip was strong and her presence made me feel a little braver. My sister's voice grew louder and meaner. She started shouting that my medical bills had drained our parents' savings. She gestured wildly, acting like I was the liar, not the daughter who had been hurt in a car accident. Aria clapped and laughed as if this were a performance she was enjoying. My aunt never lowered her phone, keeping her camera trained on me like I was some kind of animal under a microscope. I gripped my crutch tightly, knuckled white, and tried to speak louder. "The accident hurt my spine. Therapy is the only reason I can even stand at all," I shouted. But my words were drowned out by Aria's snickering and my aunt's mutter of, "Sure, that's what she says." Mom kept staring at the ground. Dad laughed at something a neighbor said, ignoring me completely. I felt completely alone, surrounded by people who were supposed to love me. My best friend whispered, "We'll fix this," and squeezed my hand again. Her quiet courage was the only thing that kept me standing. The accusations kept coming. My sister said I had planned this all along, that I was using crutches to make my parents feel guilty. She painted me as a trickster, not a daughter fighting to get her life back. Aria laughed again and Kale kept repeating that he saw me walking at the clinic. The crowd seemed to close in, judging me, whispering about whether I was lying. I looked around, hoping for even one person to believe me. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad kept flipping burgers, pretending not to notice. My friend whispered again, "We'll make them see," and I held her words tight to keep myself grounded. My sister's voice reached a peak, demanding I admit I was faking. I opened my mouth to explain when suddenly, a shadow moved at the edge of the crowd. Someone had been listening. Someone who knew the truth. A calm, strong voice cut through the noise. "She's not faking. I can prove it." It was Dr. Corin Thane, Dad's longtime friend and my physical therapist. He stepped forward and immediately everyone went quiet. He placed a hand on my sister's shoulder and looked at the crowd with steady eyes. He pulled out his phone. "I record my patients' sessions to track their progress," he said. "Here is Ellery from Tuesday." A video played. I was in the clinic trying to shuffle with my crutches. My legs shook, sweat ran down my forehead, and each step was a struggle. I was barely moving, and it was clear to anyone watching that I was working hard, not pretending. The crowd leaned in, eyes wide. They could not deny what they were seeing. Dr. Thane looked around at everyone. "If anyone still doubts, I can show her medical records," he said firmly. My sister's face turned pale. He tried to speak. "I was just trying to protect the family," she whispered. But no one answered. My aunt shifted uncomfortably and put her phone away. Aria's eyes darted to the ground. Kale's certainty disappeared. I stared at the video and felt relief wash over me. Finally, after years of trying to prove that my injury was real, everyone could see the truth. I wasn't pretending. But even though relief filled me, anger was still there, hot and sharp. I was angry at my sister for lying and at my family for doubting me. My best friend squeezed my hand again. "They'll pay for this," she whispered. I nodded, feeling determination rising inside me. Dr. Thane paused the video. "Ellery's injury is real," he said firmly. "She needs ongoing therapy. She's fought harder than any of you know." The backyard was silent. My aunt looked away, uneasy. Aria let her hand drop. My sister tried again, weakly. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she said. I looked at Mom, hoping for some support, but her face stayed frozen in shame. Dad glanced at me, said nothing, and went back to flipping burgers. Their quiet felt like another betrayal. My friend's whisper echoed in my mind, giving me strength. This wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about justice. Dr. Thane said softly, "You don't have to stay here." I nodded, gripping my crutch tightly. The crowd parted as I began to move, their faces full of shock and regret. My sister reached out her hand, trembling. Please," she started. I shook my head. "You've said enough," I said firmly. The video had changed everything. It exposed not just my sister's cruelty, but the family's willingness to doubt me. I felt lighter, like a heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But the anger still lingered, sharp and real. My best friend stayed close, her presence steady and strong. She had recorded every moment, so we had proof for later if we needed it. The backyard was quiet, the happy chaos of before replaced by stunned silence. People looked at each other, unsure what to do. Dr. Thane gestured toward the gate. "Let's get you out of here," he said. I nodded, moving forward with my crutch. My friend stayed right by my side, her hand holding mine firmly. Even though I was leaving the backyard, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief because the truth was finally known. Anger because my family had doubted me, and because I had been forced to prove something that should have been obvious. But I also felt proud. Proud of myself for standing strong, proud of my friend for supporting me, and proud that I had fought for the truth. As we walked away, I looked back one last time. My sister was standing frozen, her bravado gone. Aria's face was red with embarrassment. Kale's eyes avoided mine. Even my aunt's smirk had disappeared. The crowd that had laughed at me now looked ashamed. I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt strong. My friend whispered again, "We'll make sure everyone knows the truth." I nodded, gripping my crutch with renewed strength. Together we walked out of the backyard. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I knew I had won. Not just the fight to prove I wasn't faking, but the fight to stand tall and be myself no matter what anyone else thought. Dr. Thane stayed a little behind, smiling gently. "You did well today, Ellery," he said. "You've fought hard and you should be proud." I smiled back, tired but strong. I had faced lies, shame, and doubt from the people I loved. But now the truth was clear. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The backyard had been full of chaos, judgment, and disbelief. But I walked out of it with my head high, knowing that my strength, my truth, and my courage had finally won the day. And I knew I could face anything from now on because I had already survived the worst. I took a step, my crutch steady even though the grass was bumpy and uneven. My legs were tired from trying to balance, but I kept moving. I could feel the warm sun on my face and the soft wind brushed against my arms. Behind me, my family's faces faded into the background. Their looks and whispers didn't bother me anymore. I was ready to leave all of it behind. I didn't need their approval or their pity. I was ready to be free. Dr. Thane guided me toward his car, walking slowly and carefully so I wouldn't trip. His hand hovered near my elbow, ready to help, but he trusted me to take each step on my own. Leora, my best friend, walked right beside me. Her eyes were strong and fierce, full of loyalty. She never let me feel alone. "You don't need them," she said quietly but firmly. Her words made me feel safe and strong. They were like an anchor in the middle of a storm. I could feel her support holding me steady. Then I heard my sister's voice calling from behind. "Wakey! Wait!" she shouted, running across the grass. I stopped and turned to face her. Her face was red and her eyes were wide with worry. She tried to explain herself, saying she was just trying to help Mom and Dad, that she had done a lot for them. But it sounded like excuses to me. Her words were quick, like she wanted to get them out before I could respond. I shook my head and spoke calmly, even though I felt a storm inside. "You're wrong, but it's not your fault," I said. My voice was steady. Her mouth opened like she wanted to argue, but then it closed. Her hands fell limply at her sides and she looked small and helpless. I turned away and moved toward the car. The weight of her words faded and I felt lighter with every step. Our relatives were standing in the backyard, frozen and unsure what to do. They had looked so confident before, but now they didn't know what to say. My Aunt Vivian clutched her phone tightly. She had made a video of me earlier, a silent threat that made me feel uneasy. A few cousins turned their faces away, tight-lipped and uncomfortable. Arya and Kale stood quietly among them, no longer pointing fingers or laughing. The earlier accusations and judgment seemed to have vanished into thin air. Dr. Thane opened the car door with calm, serious eyes. "We'll get you checked at the hospital," he said quietly. I nodded and climbed into the back seat. Leora sat beside me, her presence giving me courage and strength. As the car started to move, I glanced back at the backyard one last time. Mom stood by the drink table, her head down, looking more worried about what others might think than about me. Dad stayed by the grill, chatting and laughing with a neighbor as if nothing had happened. Their silence wasn't just neglect, it was a choice. And it hurt more than my sister's words ever could. The drive to the hospital was short. The city lights of Denver blurred past the car windows. Leora leaned close to me and whispered, "Vivian didn't delete her video, but I have one too. Every second of it." Her words gave me strength. I could see the truth clearly now. My family had ignored me for too long, dismissing my pain as if it didn't matter. I knew I couldn't let that happen anymore. At the hospital, Dr. Thane checked me carefully. He looked kind, gentle, and concerned, very different from my family. He made sure I hadn't hurt myself more when I fell. Sitting in the exam room, I pulled out my phone and searched for a lawyer. Leora scrolled through her contacts and said, "I know someone. Vesper Calder. She's strong and helps people with disabilities." I felt a little nervous, but I dialed the number, my hands steady. When Vesper answered, her voice was sharp and professional. I told her about my sister's lies and the video Leora had taken. Vesper listened carefully, asking questions with precise attention. "This is harassment and defamation," she said firmly. "We can file a civil case for emotional and financial damages." I hung up, my decision clear. "I'm doing this," I told Leora. "I'm suing my sister." She nodded, her eyes shining. "I'll be your witness," she said, holding my hand. It felt right. I was finally standing up for myself. My sister's actions were not just a small mistake. They were part of a pattern, and my family had allowed it to happen. Mom always tried to keep the peace, even if it meant hurting me. Dad focused on guests and fun, ignoring the real problems. Vivian's video reminded me of all the people who had judged me. But Leora's video was my proof. It showed the truth. I wasn't fighting just for myself anymore. I was fighting for every time I had been doubted, every time my pain had been ignored. Dr. Thane came back with his clipboard. "You're cleared to go," he said, smiling kindly. "Take it easy." I thanked him, feeling a little lighter inside. Leora helped me into the car. As we drove, I felt a change inside me. The backyard had shown me my family's flaws, but it had also given me courage. Vesper's words, harassment, defamation, damages, felt like a path to justice. My sister had crossed a line and my parents had let her. I wasn't trying to be mean. I just wanted them to understand the consequences of their actions. Leora looked at me with a strong, determined face. "We've got this," she said. I nodded. The fight was just beginning, but I felt ready. A few days later, the police came to my sister's door. Detective Alaric Stroud stood in the sunlight, his badge shiny. He asked my sister about what happened in the backyard. She was being charged with attacking a disabled person and spreading lies. Leora's video showed everything. Her lies fell apart in front of the police. My sister looked shocked and quiet. Her usual confidence was gone. Back at my apartment, I met with Vesper Calder. She had filed a lawsuit against my sister, asking for compensation for the emotional pain and problems she caused me. "The video is perfect," she said, looking at me with sharp eyes. "It proves she meant to hurt you." I nodded. This wasn't about money. It was about making my sister face what she did. Vesper explained all the steps. Depositions, documents, and maybe a court date. Sounded scary, but I was ready. That evening Mom called. Her voice was soft and worried. "Don't sue your sister," she said. "It will break our family apart." Her words hurt. I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, you chose peace over me for years. I can't pretend that's okay." Then she went quiet and hung up. Her absence felt louder than words. Later, Leora came over with coffee. She told me her own story, how her family had judged her for following her dreams. "It hurts," she said, "but you learn to stand tall. You're doing that now." Her words made me feel stronger. Leora had already agreed to testify, and her video was proof. Messages from Aunt Vivian and Cousin Kale popped up on my phone. They asked how I was, but their words were polite and careful, not taking responsibility. I left them unread. I focused on my physical therapy, pushing myself with exercises. Each stretch made me feel stronger. It was like taking back my body and my life. Dr. Thane noticed and gave a quiet nod, a small victory. In the evenings I started a blog. At first it was just to understand my feelings and explain what had happened in the backyard. I wrote about Mom's silence, Dad's indifference, and my relatives' quick judgments. Writing helped me feel better, like I was telling the truth out loud. I also wrote about the lawsuit, not the details, but how it felt to stand up for myself. I wrote about therapy, small successes, and the sadness of broken family ties. Each post was like a tiny stitch fixing the parts of me that had been torn. Leora read my posts and left encouraging comments. "You're turning pain into power," she said. I held on to that idea, letting it guide me. The investigation continued. Detective Stroud called me with updates. Witnesses from the backyard all told the truth, matching Leora's video. Vesper prepared all the papers, confident and steady. I kept my focus on therapy and my writing. It became a daily routine, a way to release my feelings. Messages from my family faded into the background. Their words no longer mattered. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt a quiet strength. The lawsuit wasn't just about my sister. It was about every time I had been ignored, every time someone doubted me. Writing my blog helped me see my story as bigger than just me. I started feeling whole again, not because of my family but despite them. Leora reminded me that I wasn't alone. Then the video went online. Leora's footage spread quickly, shared by thousands of people. Everyone could see the truth. People talked about disability rights and how wrong my sister had been. Her life started falling apart. Her bank said she was too infamous to work there. Friends who used to be close stopped calling and texting. Her world changed and the truth was finally seen. I felt a strange mix of relief and strength. The backyard incident, which had hurt me so much, had become my way to fight for myself. I had taken my pain and turned it into power. I had a friend who believed in me, a lawyer who could help, and proof that showed the truth. I realized I didn't need my family's approval to feel strong. I was strong on my own. Every time I wrote in my blog, I felt lighter. Every step I took in therapy made me stronger. Every day I felt more confident, more able to face the world. I wasn't alone and I wasn't afraid. I had my own voice now, and I would use it to protect myself and to stand up for the truth. Even though my family had hurt me by ignoring me, by not believing me, I knew I could live without their judgment. I had Leora, my own courage, and the law on my side. I had a story that mattered and I would tell it. No one could take that away from me. I had fallen in the backyard, but now I was rising stronger than ever before. The online comments were mean and never stopped. People wrote things that hurt, saying my sister didn't understand what I was going through. My Aunt Vivian had to face angry comments too. People on the internet said her laughing in the video was mean and unkind. Her social media accounts, which used to have pictures of our family, went private. But even hiding didn't make the criticism go away. People still talked about her in the community. My cousin Arya, who had cheered my sister on, sent me a letter. Her handwriting was shaky and small. She wrote, "I was wrong to join in. I hope you can forgive me." Her words felt real and honest. I knew she meant it. But I wasn't ready to answer. The hurt I felt was still fresh, and trust, once broken, takes a long time to grow back. I said no to every reporter who called. Their phones were full of messages asking for interviews. I didn't want the attention. I didn't want people looking at me in the wrong way or asking questions I didn't want to answer. Instead, I poured all my energy into my blog. I wrote about living with a disability in a world that judged too quickly. I wrote about small victories like finishing a new therapy exercise or moving around on my crutches. I wrote about bigger battles too, like family members who doubted my story or didn't believe I was really hurt. The blog wasn't just for me anymore. It became a voice for others who were ignored or dismissed. I could write about my life and know that someone out there might understand even if my family didn't. At my next therapy session, Dr. Thane gave me a rare smile. "You're stronger than ever," he said, noticing my better balance. His praise felt like a milestone, proof that my hard work was paying off. Each session was a step toward taking back my body, quietly proving everyone who doubted me wrong. The physical progress matched the clarity I felt when writing each post. Each day I wrote, I felt a little lighter, like I was lifting a weight off my shoulders. People started finding my blog and their comments poured in. A woman with chronic pain wrote to thank me for explaining how tired she felt all the time while trying to prove she was really sick. A man in a wheelchair shared that his family didn't believe him either. Their words made me feel I wasn't alone. Strangers became my community and their stories became part of mine. One reader called me a voice for the invisible. That phrase stuck with me and made me want to write even more. The blog grew every day. People shared my posts and my words reached more readers than I had ever imagined. The attention was humbling. I didn't expect so many people to care. But even as my blog grew, it didn't make the distance between me and my family go away. Mom's calls still reminded me that she cared more about my sister than me. Dad's silence felt like a wall I couldn't break. Even Aria's letter, though honest, couldn't fix years of doubt and hurt. I didn't hate them, but I wasn't ready to rebuild what they had broken. My purpose was with my readers who found strength in my story, and in my therapy sessions that pushed me forward every day. Leora, my best friend, kept me grounded. She would check in regularly, bringing takeout food and telling funny stories to cheer me up. "You're building something real," she said one night while scrolling through my blog comments. Her belief in me was strong and steady, unlike my family who had faltered. She reminded me that her own struggles had made her stronger, and she wanted to guide me through mine. Her words pushed me to keep going. The lawsuit moved forward. Vesper Calder, my lawyer, sent updates in crisp, clear emails. Detective Alaric Stroud had gathered enough evidence, and the civil case was moving along. But the legal fight felt less important than the blog, which became my real battleground. Writing wasn't just healing, it gave me power. Each post I wrote was a way to take back control of the story my sister had tried to dominate. Each post said that my voice mattered and that my disability was real. The online storm didn't stop. Maris's name became a warning to others about judging people without knowing their story. Vivian's reputation took a hit. Her laughter in that video couldn't be erased. Aria's letter stayed on my desk, unanswered. I would decide later what to do. For now, I wrote, I moved, and I grew. My blog gave me a purpose I had never expected. It turned my pain into connection. I was no longer defined by my family's doubts. Months later, I saw Maris at the therapy clinic. The machines hummed and I adjusted my crutches carefully. She was standing by the desk wearing a volunteer badge, hair pulled back neatly. Our eyes met and the room felt smaller for a moment. She took a few steps toward me, her voice low and unsure. "I'm trying to understand what you go through," she said, pointing at the clinic. "The pain, the work." Her words were honest but heavy, like she thought saying them could fix everything. I looked at myself, gripping my crutch firmly. "That's good," I said evenly. "But it's not about you." I walked to the therapy room without waiting for her response. My focus was already on the exercises ahead. I didn't look back. Her presence faded with each step. Leora caught up to me, her eyes bright. "You handled that perfectly," she said warmly. Her support reminded me that I didn't need my sister's approval to move forward. In the therapy room, I pushed through my routine. Each movement was proof of my strength. My blog had become like a lifeline, connecting me to people who understood my journey. Emails poured in every day. A young woman wrote about hiding her condition at school so others wouldn't judge her. A veteran shared that my posts gave him courage to speak up. Their stories became part of mine. I wasn't alone anymore. Not like before when I was surrounded by family but still invisible. Back at my apartment, I got a text from Mom. "How's your health, sweetheart?" Her tone was soft but distant. I stared at it. She hadn't asked me to drop the lawsuit this time, but the silence she had kept for so many years still lingered. I left the text unanswered. Keeping my distance wasn't anger. It was clear. I chose to protect the life I was building. My family's absence no longer defined me. My readers, my writing, and my progress did. Dr. Thane noticed the change in me during therapy. "You're carrying yourself with confidence," he said one day, watching me try a new balance exercise. His words weren't just about my body. They reflected the confidence I had found in my voice. My blog gave me a space where my truth didn't need defending. I wrote about the clinic, not my sister, focusing on recovery and small wins every day. Readers responded with encouragement, urging me to keep going. Leora often joined me at the clinic. Her presence was steady, comforting. Over coffee after a session, she grinned while scrolling through my latest post. "You're unstoppable," she said. She had been there through everything from the accident to the lawsuit, never wavering. Her belief mirrored the support I found online. A community that saw me for who I really was, not who my family assumed I was. The lawsuit still continued, with Vesper Calder sending updates. But my focus stayed on writing and therapy. The blog kept growing. A reader from Chicago invited me to a disability advocacy group. Another sent a handwritten letter thanking me for making her feel seen. Each message was a spark, pushing me to keep sharing. I didn't need my sister's understanding or mom's tentative texts to feel complete. My confidence came from inside me, built on my words and the people who read them. The clinic, once a place of struggle, became a symbol of my strength. Each session proved I was moving forward. Maris's volunteering didn't change that. Her attempt to connect felt like too little too late. I didn't wish her ill, but I didn't owe her my time. Mom's message sat unanswered. A reminder that some bridges stay broken, not out of hate but necessity. My life was full. Therapy, writing, readers, Leora. I was enough, not because of my family but because of the path I had made. The world was opening up and I was ready for what came next. A year later, my blog won a community award. The Denver Disability Alliance honored my writing for raising awareness about people with disabilities. I held a glass plaque in a small auditorium. The applause from advocates and allies felt like a warm hug, very different from the silence I had once faced from family. My journey, once full of doubt and hurt, had led me to a moment of recognition that I shared with everyone who found strength in my words. Back at my apartment, my phone rang. Mom's voice was tentative but sincere. "I want to make things right," she said. "Come to a family gathering. We miss you." I paused. Memories of judgment-filled gatherings stirred in my mind. Arya had apologized in her letter, joined by a few cousins who reached out with regret. But most of my family, the rest including my sister, remained silent. Their absence was louder than any gesture. I needed peace, not a gathering full of judgment. My voice was steady as I replied. Mom didn't argue. I turned back to my laptop and the blog opened. Writing was my refuge, a space to advocate for disability rights and share truths that others overlooked. I posted about the award not to boast, but to celebrate the community that had lifted me. Readers, advocates, and strangers who became allies. Comments poured in reminding me that my voice mattered. A teenager with cerebral palsy wrote that my posts helped her face stares at school. An older man shared that my words helped him demand better accessibility. Their stories fueled my fire, stronger than anything my family could ever give me. Living authentically felt new and exciting. I no longer carried the burden of proving myself to those who doubted me. My sister's accusations, once painful, had faded. Her attempt to understand at the clinic didn't change my path. It only made it clearer. Mom's call and Arya's letter were steps, but not enough to pull me back into a world that had dismissed me. I was stronger, not because I had forgiven but because I chose myself. Therapy stayed important. Each session was a quiet victory. Dr. Thane noticed my movements were easier. The blog and therapy together rebuilt me piece by piece. Writing gave clarity. Therapy gave strength. Together they carried me from the brokenness of family into a life I could shape. I reflected on the cost of toxic bonds. The accident, the accusations, the silence. They were heavy but they also helped me grow. Cutting ties wasn't easy but it was necessary. I used to think family was everything but now I knew better. My strength came from inside, from the community I had found, and from the truth I had claimed. I was free, not because I got their approval but because I didn't need it. The award sat on my shelf, a symbol of what I had built. But the real victory was the life I lived, full of purpose, advocacy, and truth. I kept writing, each post a step forward. Each reader made the world feel less lonely. Leora celebrated with me, her laughter a reminder of bonds that truly mattered. The lawsuit faded. Its outcome mattered less than the voice I had found. Looking back, I realized my story wasn't just for me. It was for anyone who had been doubted, ignored, or forced to prove their worth. Your truth is enough, I wrote in my final post. You don't need to carry the weight of others' doubts. Find your voice, build your community, and let go of what holds you back. Strength isn't in staying, it's in choosing yourself.